In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of 1-4. Looks like Disney Investor Day finally made its mark. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, I'm going to take a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of 1-4. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Swaggle, didn't you already put out a video for Go Collect's hottest comic books just 2 days ago? Well, yes, I did. And Go Collect threw me a curveball and put out another article in the same week. And I think that is because, because we had the holiday season, because of New Year's and everything like that, it looks like they were a little behind on their blog posts, but that's okay. Because, essentially we're going to take a look at, the new article that they put out. And we'll look at it as if we're doing a top 10 for hottest comics for the week of, this first week of 2020. But before I can get into the article, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content, love interacting with you guys. It's been really, really awesome having this YouTube channel, and let's keep this conversation going. All right, with that being said, let us take a look at this article. And what I think is super interesting here is we finally have Disney Investor Day playing a role on the hot comics. Now, I've been reviewing these Go Collect articles for, the last couple weeks, and I had been thinking that, of course, we were going to see some trickle over from MCU Investor Day, or Disney Investor Day, excuse me, in the MCU spec books, but we haven't had that. And finally, we're getting a sense of that here. So let's take a look at this article. We'll go through it. We'll do some analysis, and we'll talk about the books that are trending upward. All right. That said, here is the article, and it is Trending Ironheart and Adam Warlock's Big Week. And of course, this is an article written by Matt Tuck. Matt Tuck, a great contributor to Go Collect, big fan of his work. You guys should definitely go check him out. I'll definitely put a link to this article in the description. I know that he saw the video, so shout out to Matt Tuck. All right, so here we go. This is Go Collect's Trending Comics, Ironheart and Adam Warlock's Big Week. And I'm just going to go through the article and what we're going to talk about it here. And what I think is interesting is that we have two characters that specifically are being sought after, namely Ironheart, Riri Williams, and Adam Warlock. So we're going to start with Riri Williams' books here. And that's going to be Invincible Iron Man number 9, up 716 spots. Now, for those who don't know, this is a Brian Michael Bendis book that came out some years ago. It's definitely a modern comic book, but it is the first appearance of a character known as Riri Williams. Now, I only know a little bit about Riri Williams. I've not been, I hadn't read the stories, but I know that she is a young character that sort of takes up the Iron Man mantle. And Marvel was doing this with a lot of the characters, like the Amadeus Cho taking over the Hulk mantle, and they had some other characters that were sort of taking up the known characters that we've had in Marvel for many, many years. And we had sort of like a young, new group of characters. And Riri Williams was the one that took over for Iron Man. And this is the first appearance of her book. Well, in Disney Investor Day, they announced that she was going to be getting a Disney Plus show. And definitely, the comic book market exploded, and overnight, all the books that were being talked about in Disney Investor Day were selling off the charts on eBay. And in particular, this one right here is for Riri Williams and, her first appearance. And this is pretty cool because, I think that Riri Williams is a pretty cool character from everything that I can gather. And people seem to be really excited about her show. And also, there's a lot of Brian Michael Bendis fans. I know he can be sometimes polarizing as an artist, or excuse me, as a writer. But this is something that people celebrate. And this is her first appearance. And not to mention just this book, what I think is really interesting. If we go into the article, the other book that's been trending up is Invincible Iron Man number 9, which is the same run, but this is the variant, which is up 264 spots. So you can see that people not only are excited about, the first appearance of her traditional cover, but people are also speccing on the first appearance of this variant. And you can see, the variant is pretty cool cover. I'm not actually sure if that is specifically her Iron Man suit. I think it's safe to assume that it is, but if we dig into the numbers here, what I think is really interesting is you can see a 9.8 selling for $1,200 for this variant compared to this one right here, which is the traditional cover, and a 9.8 selling for $450. So that's pretty crazy to me that the variant has eclipsed the traditional cover by 3 times, and that's something that's really interesting too to talk about as far as maybe a future video down the road is talking about variant covers and how they relate to the value of certain books. Because we sort of live in this new modern day era where variant covers are a big deal. And typically speaking, when we talk about first appearances of characters that, are in the Silver Age and the Bronze Age, their books, like there's no gray area in terms of like what we feel is the first appearance. It's like, it's very specific that this book, because back then they didn't do variant covers. Where now we're in a time where as we get these new characters coming into the MCU, anytime there's a new or young creations and things like that, and we have all these variant covers that are in the market, it's going to be interesting to see like what people value as the cover that is the go-to. How much do people like the variant covers? And the thing is too is like it's sort of hard to keep track of all the variant covers that there are. Like I mean if I was looking for the first appearance of Riri Williams, I would be looking at the traditional book. I wouldn't have even known that there was a variant cover to be had. So that's something that's really interesting. And, we'll keep our eye on it as we, see more characters come into the MCU that are from the modern day age. And it's a whole new game when we talk about these variant covers. All right, let's continue on with the article here. So we had Riri Williams, of course, being a big character. And the other character that has been spec'd on super hard is, of course, Adam Warlock. And now, what I think is really interesting here is that there have already been a few books that people have been spec'ing on for Adam Warlock, namely Thor 165. That seems to be the winning book because that is his true first full appearance. But at the time, he's a character known as him. So I think that that's really interesting. And it looks like because people have been specking on that book so hard, what we're seeing here is now a trickle over effect where, the market has chased to that book and maybe it's priced out of people's ranges. So people are looking for that consolation prize. Similar to, how we discussed in the last video when we were talking about Go Collects Hot Comics, we were talking about ASM 51 being Kingpin's second appearance. Well, maybe ASM 50 had already been spec'd on in a big way, and now we have the trickle over effect. And it looks like that's going to be the case for these videos here. So let's kind of dig in here. The first one that Matt talks about here is Fantastic Four 67. Now, he does mention this is actually down 2 spots, but he wanted to bring it up because this is worth talking about because this has been a book has been spec'd on for many, many weeks now. And for those who don't know, this is the first appearance of Adam Warlock, known as him at the time, but he was in a cocoon. So this is kind of like, people talk about, I think he shows up in a cameo at the end of this book. So this is a big one that people have been chasing. This is like the first technical maybe appearance, the first panel that we see of him. And, this is a book definitely high in the numbers here. You can see the 9.8s, 11,000, granted that's a 2018 sale. But if we go down here to, where the market recently is, we see $1,800 sale in October at a 9.4 for this one right here. So definitely an interesting book. All right, moving on now to the next Adam Warlock book is going to be The Mighty Thor 166, and this is up 347 spots. So what is interesting about this one is this is considered him's second full appearance. And as you can see here for the numbers, we see the 9.8s, granted this is 2019, $925, but you can see here a 9.6 recently sold for $750 in December. And I think that, what's going on with this book, much like other things like the Kingpin one, or, you talk about like Hulk 181 and how it relates to Hulk 180 and things like that. Thor 165 has been him's first full appearance, and people have been specking on this in a big way. I mean, granted, it's a great cover, classic, great book to have a first appearance in. And you can see here the 9.8s, really high in the numbers here. And look at this, in October 9.2, 1950. If we compare that to this book here, like a 9.2, 1450. So you can see that people have really been specking on this in a way, and for probably a lot of people out there, it's probably out of their budget range. So people have now been flocking to number 166 as a good consolation prize. And I can see why. It's still a great cover, still a great second appearance for Adam Warlock. And definitely an exciting book to have. All right. And the last book here, again, another Adam Warlock book is going to be Marvel Premiere #1. And this is up 377 spots. And what is special about this one is, again, it's really confusing because when this character was first created, when he emerged onto the scene in the Fantastic Four book, they labeled his name as the character him, H-I-M. And that was what he was known for these first couple appearances. And then he had this interaction in the storyline with a High Evolutionary. And, talk about some other videos I did where I was specking on the High Evolutionary. I think that we might be seeing him in the MCU. But we'll table that. He had this interaction with High Evolutionary, and High Evolutionary did these things with him and rebranded him and renamed him Adam Warlock. So for this book right here, Marvel Premiere #1, this is the first appearance of the current edition that we understand to be Adam Warlock, meaning the costume, the name, etc. And this book has been definitely heating up in the market. And as you can see here, we see a 9.6 selling for $14.50. That was back in March. 9.4, $11.50, November of 2020. And this is a really interesting book too, because what I think is kind of like an interesting discussion with all these sort of Adam Warlock books is that when we see him in the MCU, and there's good reason to think that we are going to see him because he was teased in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at the end. When we see him in the MCU, I think we are going to get this Marvel Premiere version of the character, right? We're going to see him in that costume. He's going to have the character's design that we understand from that Marvel Premiere. And that's really interesting to me because what effect is that going to have on the other books? Like, do people, for collectors and as it relates to the MCU, do people want to own Marvel Premiere and own the rendition of the character that they are, attracted to on the silver screen? Or do people want to own the him character, which is his true first appearance? And that's something that I eventually want to talk about in another video and talk about this idea of like, what really holds the value? Is it when we see a character in their sort of classic costume and that's the one that we like? Or is it, the first time that we ever see the character, in any comic book and maybe they don't have the same costume that they, that becomes iconic for them later on. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys been specking on Adam Warlock or Riri Williams? I picked up an Adam Warlock book the other day. Excited to have it. Maybe I'm going to put it out in the market. We'll see. Let me know, do you guys have any of these books, or have you been going after any of the Thor books? Let me know. Drop me a like, a comment, or subscribe if you're enjoying my content, and I will see you in the next video.